Hi, and welcome back to Cole's Custom Shop. Today on the podcast, I've got Wade here with me, and we'll be talking about all things model and the real world when it comes to farming and trucking and a little bit of everything, cars too.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, what have you been up to lately, Wade?
Well, last couple of days, I've been doing some trucking, helping out on the farm. We have two different farms that are 2 hours away from each other, so we kind of work away at one, then got to move equipment back and forth. We're not fully set up at one end, so.
That's the farm that on, was it the first episode that we talked about you hauling cows to all the time?
Yep, yeah, same one. So we haul equipment back and forth too. So get to put lots of miles in, but we hauled a tractor out. We're gonna do some fencing out there, clear a little bush, and then I actually brought my tractor back. So when we purchased the land from an older gentleman, I bought one of his old tractors. So it's a 1958 International 460 utility tractor. It's in pretty rough shape. I haven't gotten it to run yet, but the guy claimed it ran, and I believe him. I haven't managed to get it running quite yet. But
a fun tractor nonetheless, though.
Yeah, a little project. 60 horse inline six gas, little carbureted deal. It's gonna be a lot of fun. Got a little PTO and stuff on it, right? So you can, you can do a lot
garden rotor tilling.
Yeah, exactly, and it's it's good for that kind of stuff. So I'm looking forward to having that home and being able to work on it a little bit. So
right.
Hopefully I can get it running at
least. Because you don't have a shop out west, right?
No, well, not at the moment. We're hoping to get one eventually, but we don't have one just yet.
Yeah, so a little easier at home where you're spending more time and in a shop.
Yeah, it's a little chilly to work on outside. Yeah, I don't spend much time out there other than back and forth and a little bit of fencing. It's mostly cow stuff up there, and I tend to avoid that a little bit. It's not quite my forte. So
yeah, for sure.
So that's been what's been keeping me busy.
What are you pulling today? Like, what truck are you using?
So we have a 2012 Peterbilt 388. That's what we have today. Nice little 50-inch munk on it, and Cummins under the hood, 18 speed.
So the 388, is that like a fiberglass hood instead of
just a little bit shorter hood? Just a little bit shorter.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's the main difference on it. Yeah, slightly shorter.
A little easier to turn.
Yeah, and they're a little more common in the world of B trains up here.
Right. When we have talked about how we have a length restriction here in Canada, and when you can pull Super B trailers that are quite a bit longer, then you can't put a great big stretched out truck on those.
Yeah, like even one of my dad's friends was running a 389 with the big 82-inch bunk, I think it is, or whatever, and we weren't actually looking at buying it, but he was jokingly bugging us to, and we were thinking about it. It's like, that's probably over length with a set of Super Bs by the time you throw that truck on the front. I'm not 100% sure on that,
but especially without having a real short frame behind the bunk. I've seen them, and it's like you don't have that much space between the back of the bunk and that fifth wheel plate.
Yeah, it's pretty, which is good for aerodynamics for sure. But this is a Peterbilt 389 we're talking about, so.
Aerodynamics is not your what you're going for with that truck.
No, and actually that particular one was pulling a cattle liner, and actually some aerodynamic consideration that was taken into that one is they added a big wing on top.
Yep. Those look good.
Yeah, and it was actually helping with fuel economy quite a bit, this guy was saying. Over not having it, so a little bit.
Especially with the cattle liner being so tall, because it's double deckered, fit two sets of cows on there, and
you'd be full height.
Quite a tall trailer, really.
Full height, very just like your van trailers and stuff for max cubic space. So, But so that's what I'm cruising around today. We got a step deck on behind that we use for hauling stuff back.
And you actually showed up here with it.
Yeah, I did. So
it doesn't fit in my driveway, so you had to walk a little bit.
Yeah, not by a ways. So I originally intended on going home first, then coming back. But that would add a couple hours of driving. So I just I had gotten a little behind in loading my little tractor that's not running. Makes it a little tricky. The hard push to get up the ramps.
And no brakes.
Yeah, no brakes. So that took a little longer. So I just swung on through. It saved me some driving. So
yeah, sounds good. So yeah. And what I've been up to this past week is I went to the Lethbridge Truck Fair.
Nice.
So it was a semi-truck show here in Lethbridge, Alberta, a few hours south of where we are, but my in-laws live down there and we were going to visit them anyways, and found out the truck show was happening. So managed to swing on over there and get there first thing in the morning because it was going to be a hot day.
Good old Lethbridge.
36 degrees Celsius. And then it was on pavement outside with all these trucks. So thankfully we got there at 9 when it opened, left by noon. If we would have been there at like 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock, that would have been a tough one.
Especially it is an indoor-outdoor show, but there's a lot of trucks outside.
You can only fit like 6 trucks inside.
Yeah, like it's the indoor portion's mostly a job fair.
Yeah.
I think they usually keep the manufacturers and a couple company trucks inside.
Manufacturers, trucks, and then I think there was 2 company trucks, at least maybe 3. The rest were all the manufacturer trucks, and then all these companies for the job fair, and I got to see Edison Motors. It was pretty sweet. It was kind of one of those deals where it was advertised that they were going to be there. Apparently, even on the radio, they were saying Edison Motors is going to be here, and Edison Motors had told them back in the spring, we'll make it if we can, if we have time, but they're very busy. And turns out that their truck couldn't really drive in Alberta, plus it's an old truck with no air conditioning, so to drive like 40 hours without AC is not worth it. And their lowboy trailer was busy, had stuff on it, so they reached out on social media, and some good old guys from Alberta answered their call and sent a truck out there with a driver, and picked him up, brought him to the show, and then brought him back, and I was able to see them. And for those of you not familiar, Edison Motors is a brand new Canadian truck manufacturer, only like 2 years old.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, they're still in the early R&D stages on a lot of it. I think that's actually why they've been so busy lately.
Yes.
They're working like crazy to get their first
full
in the flesh prototype of production truck, rather than just like the other truck that they brought to this show was more of a proof of concept kind of deal, restoration.
So it was a late 60s Kenworth truck that they have retrofitted electric. Now, before everybody gets mad, electric trucks, they are a company from British Columbia, Canada, that builds purpose-built vocational electric trucks. So it is not a pure electric. It is electric drive with batteries refilled by a diesel generator, which is the same as a locomotive or a heavy mining truck.
Yeah, minus the batteries.
Minus the batteries. And so their goal or their design is basically you have these electric motors down at the axles. You get instant torque. You get so much horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
And then you don't have to have a drive line. You can just run those electrical lines up to the batteries, which they can sneak between the frame rails on their prototype truck. Mm-hmm. On this proof of concept truck, it was outside, kind of like where your fuel tanks would be. But you've got your electric drives, and you go up to your batteries, and those batteries are charged up by a generator that's mounted to the back of a Caterpillar diesel engine.
Which is a very common setup in other industrial uses, cat generator.
That's why they came up with the idea. Like, a place it was a community that was running off of a generator because they were too far north to get power off the grid or on the grid, so they were off grid. And they were running an old generator, and they switched to a setup where the batteries and the electric motor, the batteries take the peak power load, and then they're just recharged by a generator. So they use that concept with this truck where they basically use those electric motors fueled by the batteries to take that peak power load, and all that diesel engine has to do is charge up the batteries. So you could put a much smaller, almost like half the size of an engine in there. So it's fuel efficiency. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, they're not full electric, but it's so much more practical. You get all the benefits of the torque and the power of the electric, but then because of the generator, you have endless range, as long as you have diesel that you can get.
Which is way more common than a charger, right?
Absolutely. And then you don't have to fill up nearly as often because they can put a Caterpillar C9 generator instead of what you'd have in a truck of like a C15.
C15, a 15-liter motor.
Yeah, so you can have a much smaller motor because all it has to do is charge up batteries. It doesn't have to work to pull, 80,000 pounds or much more than that from full stop all the way up to 100 kilometers per hour.
And the other thing is like when you have your big 14 or 15 liter motor in there, what you're doing is you're getting the biggest. You need that motor for the largest amount of load that you're going to have, but the other 75% of the time you really don't need that.
You're not using 100% of that motor's capacity when you're just cruising down the highway getting pushed by your own weight.
Absolutely.
So, but with they're kind of really focusing on a heavy haul niche where they're building a logging truck that basically has that power to pull oversized and overweight loads off-road with all the traction and everything and still be able to operate out in the bush without having to pull up to a charging station. Now, they can pull up to a charging station if you want, but you can just charge it off your small little diesel generator and you're producing power, and it's great for other applications like a service truck. You can get 3-phase power running your welders and everything. A dump truck, you've got electric over hydraulic.
Yep.
A winch truck, you just add on axles, because you can run electric motors in series to double the horsepower. You can run 2. It's very common in racing, like drag racing. Guys will use 2 electric motors, each 500 horsepower. You got 1,000 horsepower right there. Or even nowadays, electric motors are often 1,000 horsepower.
Yeah, even in a single motor.
Yeah. And instant torque. So anyways, it's a very exciting company.
As well as that regenerative braking too. Like in the logging truck application, you go up the mountain empty,
huge thing.
Download it. So
explain regenerative braking to people, kind of what is that and why it's such a huge deal.
Well,
that's
basically
the other exciting part of it.
Yeah, and it's kind of the electric equivalent to a Jake brake in its function. Except where
way more efficient though.
Yeah, like a Jake brake is it's literally wasting energy because it's trapping air inside the motor and compressing it, then letting it out when it's at its highest pressure to slow the truck down. Whereas in the electric regenerative braking, all it's doing is, instead of putting electrical energy in to create that mechanical movement or the mechanical energy, you're taking that mechanical energy from the truck being pushed down the hill by gravity, or I guess pulled down the hill, and you're turning it back into electrical energy and putting in batteries and storing it for the next bit.
Because an electric engine, we think electric means complicated. An electric engine, or electric motor, is simply a magnet and basically pieces that move around in a circle, and the magnet basically kind of cuts in and out so that it flips the polarity and keeps that thing turning and turning and turning and turning. The best part is when you're using electricity to move that, if you were to just grab that or take something else that moves it anyways without the electricity needing to move it, it becomes a generator. Mm-hmm. So an electric motor and an electric generator are fundamentally the same thing. So then the regenerative braking is those electric motors moving those wheels when you're going down a hill and you're trying to slow down. It's the gravity that's moving those and then turning it into a generator, giving you free power, charging up those batteries.
Which, like, in a logging application, it's really clever because you go up the hill empty, you burn up, make sure your batteries are empty by the time you get to the top, but you're empty so you don't pull all of that weight up. But then coming back down, you're loaded with logs, so you're heavy. So, you're going to gain way more energy going down than you lose going up. So you're going to have a net positive, which is, and I mean, even with their generator idea, it's a good intermediary between full diesel and full electric. But now you're getting the best of both worlds. You can stop somewhere and fuel up in 15 minutes and drive away again nice and quick. Or you can use but you also get your regenerative braking and kind of free energy, sort of, not really,
but more efficient.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it's basically the whole name of the game is better performance with more efficiency.
Yeah, and that costs less.
Yeah, that costs less.
Yeah.
And even the generator that goes on the back of the engine, it's no different cost than a brand new automatic transmission for a semi-truck.
Yep. And way less moving parts.
And way less complicated, less time for a rebuild,
Well, I mean, much more efficient, too, because there's so many less things that need to move.
Less moving parts?
A diesel engine and a transmission, there's all these gears and oils and lubricants to keep it going and stuff, where the
and you got rebuild all the time.
You have, your two bearings and the electrical energy. It moves through copper cables or whatever that have a little bit of resistance in it. And lose some efficiency there, and then over to the next motor, and that's it. You skim a lot of the energy losses. So
yeah, it's a
pretty cool,
very exciting concept and very exciting company, and for it to be a Canadian company,
that's
just
awesome
a bunch of loggers from British Columbia, getting her done and coming up with a really good design and really trying to prove it before they just go into mass production. So it's very admirable, and we're both big fans. And the fact that I got to, meet the CEO and see their proof of concept truck and, shake his hand, get a picture with him, was pretty sweet. And then we walked around the outside of the truck, and I was showing my father-in-law. He was asking, well, how does this work and what's with that? And I'm, explaining all of this stuff about the truck. And then the guy came and was grabbing something for the cab, and I'm fairly shy, but my father-in-law is very bold and was saw some hats in there and said, hey, can we have a hat? And he's like, oh yeah, sure. And they didn't bring that many hats. We're talking 12.
And this is a 2-day show, a weekend show.
This is a big show, lot of people, and everyone's expecting them to be there. It's advertised on the radio. He's a celebrity. So he's like, oh yeah, sure, do you want a blue one? And they're like, oh, just one for him and stuff like that. So I got a hat. And I was very happy with that. So that was pretty sweet. And then met a lot of, first of all, saw a lot of cool trucks.
Yeah.
Second of all, met a lot of guys that were interested in getting a model of their truck made. Passed out some business cards and things like that. And met some good guys, saw some cool trucks, and had some fun. So that's what I've been up to, and that's been pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's been a few years since I've been to the Lethbridge Truck Show, but it's always a good time. There's lots of fleets down there that run really nice iron. There's lots of independent guys that have some nice iron, and there's a lot of collectors that have some really nice iron too.
Yeah, it was a lot of really, really nice trucks, and most of them were still being worked on the highway.
Mm-hmm. Yep, even some of the older ones too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very, very good truck show, very fun.
Yeah, I'm hoping to make it to that one next year. That'll be a good time.
Yeah, for sure. So yeah, that was definitely a big exciting highlight for me. And yeah. So what do we got on the table? What's on the table, Wade?
Well, we got one of Isaac's custom models. I believe the truck was one you made yourself.
Yeah.
You customized yourself, stretched out the frame, added some sweet stacks and air intakes. And then the trailer, I believe, was a purchase deal, correct? Yeah. Along with the tractors on it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Tractors weren't on it, but they were purchased from the same person.
Okay, yeah. So we got a couple of real sweet big buds on the trailer on this custom hand-built trailer.
Yeah. So Big Buds, it's a company out of Montana that make great big four-wheel drive tractors for agriculture and construction. And they're really in the news now of bringing it back. The last one was made, was it in the 80s or did they make it into the 90s?
I'm going to guess late 80s. That's when these particular models were made too, but I'd say late 80s. They kind of always ran on, and I mean that era too, there was quite a few manufacturers that were playing that game of keep it simple, stupid, and running common motors, 855 Cummins or Cats, 3406s and stuff like that, throwing them in agriculture equipment. And really, really simple in the best way possible.
Yeah, and everything interchangeable.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And unique thing is, they stopped making those tractors, and then recently this year, they brought it back. They announced and released that they are building a new generation of those tractors and going back to their roots of let's build a simple tractor with as minimal electronics and as minimal redundancies and stuff like that. Let's just build it, and let's build it so that the frame itself will last forever, just like these old Big Bud tractors. Mm-hmm. But you can replace the drive line, you can replace stuff, and it's common parts and easy to make and easy to work on yourself.
Because I think they're aiming for a Cummins motor, and probably would be an X15 or some other modern equivalent, which would take care of all the emission standards and stuff too, as I imagine they'd have to live up to that. But then a Cat transmission, and I think the rest of the drive line was supposed to be Cat as well.
Yeah, so it's Caterpillar axles from mining trucks. So they are heavy. Like, agriculture has never seen axles that have this capacity, that are this overbuilt. No one's done it. Even them, who they have had the biggest ones before when they made the tractors back in the 80s. So definitely some cool cool tractors made by a pretty sweet company. If you want to check out Welker Farms on YouTube, they have restored 3 of them and still use them for farming because they're very good, strong, applicable tractors. You just update a few things and you're good to go.
Yeah, and I believe Montana agriculture is kind of similar to Western Canada, big wide equipment, big acres.
Not much rain.
Yeah, not much rain. So it all kind of fits in together for sure.
Yeah, so this this trailer was a custom built that I bought in an auction with these tractors. And this truck kind of started a lot of things for me. It's a international cab over. It's a 9700. This particular model in 1/64 scale was made by Erdl a long time ago. Doesn't make it anymore. And I got this from a friend. It was actually Jaden. So he went through their collection of farm toys and picked out all these broken toys. And I basically, I fixed a truck for him, a model truck, and then in exchange for all these broken toys, which are great for parts and great for, building onto and restoring stuff. And one of these things was this old cab over, and I didn't have one in my collection. Always wanted one, but it was broken in half. And it was rough because, of course, it had been played with. That's what they were made for. But it was broken in half, and I rebuilt it entirely. I took a frame from another truck and I stretched it out nice and long, and I, cut some of the metal and so I could fit the big exhaust stacks in the back and the air intake, and put chrome pieces on it, and bought tanks and stuff, and put really nice tires and everything. And then I put one of my coolest paint jobs that I've done, where it is a nice orange with white stripes and different thicknesses of stripes. So we've got like a big fat one in the middle with like a thin one just below it, and then up top we've got another thin one, and I'm pretty proud of that, and turned out good. Definitely not as good of a truck as I'm building now. Definitely some things that I've improved on, but for the time, I couldn't have been prouder of the truck that I built.
Yeah, and the paint job turned out really good, having those multiple colors and stripes and stuff. Mm-hmm. It looks sweet.
And with the stripes on a small scale truck, they're so tiny. You want to know what I used for those stripes to tape it off?
What would that have been?
I used ladies' fingernail tape. So I bought it on Amazon. It's a big pack with all this very, very thin tape. What would you say? That's a 64th or 32nd? No, sorry. That would be like a 32nd of an inch.
Yeah, I mean, I'd call it like a millimeter.
Yeah.
Or 2, maybe?
1.5 millimeters.
Yeah, like it's
pretty tiny.
Yeah, and like
so it's
nothing
this,
at all.
Yeah, it's this decorative tape that ladies cut to make designs on there, and they don't really use it for masking. It's more like shiny tape that they put on, like to make a star or something. I don't know what they do with it, but I know I paint trucks with it, and it worked good for masking. Not perfect. I've had some problems with it on other projects, but hey, it worked pretty good for this.
Yeah, it turned out really well.
And so yeah, that is what's on the table. So yeah, well, we've talked about a few different things so far with big bud tractors, and with kind of the old way of things of things were simpler, built stronger then, but built to last, and you just kind of update things, and it's kind of the same way with tractors and agriculture and semi trucks and pickup trucks and cars too, really. You get your old pickup truck from the 80s that it's got a big engine in it, and it drinks up gas pretty badly, but it'll run. You rebuild something, you replace a few common parts, and you're good to go.
And the nice part is they're pretty simple from an electrical standpoint, but also even to get things like body panels, those things, they're so common that they rust out or wear out or whatever, that you can get them easily even now, and that's going on 40, 50 years on some things, right? So
exactly. So yeah, another thing I've been working on a lot lately is my 3D printed models, and kind of designing them and printing them, and just ordered a resin 3D printer.
Nice.
So I can do my current 3D printer, it's like a filament style, and I can print things a lot bigger on it and a lot cheaper. It just cost me, like 4 cents a gram or whatever. Yes, I have to figure in the hours spent designing and all, the failed prints and all of those things and all the work with that and the cost of the printer, but it can print things fairly affordable. So it's great for bigger things like trailers for trucks and prototypes, and all kinds of things like that. But when it comes to super high detail, it doesn't do a great job. Even its normal stuff. If you were to paint it, you'd see lines everywhere. Whereas I will, for my 3D printed trucks, I will sand it down and I'll take body filler and fill that in, sand it down again, and then you can still see some lines, but it's better. And if I'm wanting to put like small little details, like it's tough and they don't show up very good. And if you have to do all that sanding to work around those isn't worth it anyways. So with a resin printer, I can do highly detailed things and very good small things that are strong and good. So for example, mirrors on a truck. I've made them, I've designed them, I printed them on my own, and they work all right. But I could do way nicer, more detailed mirrors. Or even my truck cabs. We were talking last time about a truck cab 3D resin printed by somebody else that literally has the rivets on the door.
Yeah, absolutely.
So you could get to that level of detail with resin printing. And so my goal is with the two printers, I print bigger things on my normal printer for cheaper. And then I print all the detail parts on my resin printer. So if you want a tractor trailer set, I'd print the trailers for cheaper and the frame of the truck. And then for the cab of the truck that's highly detailed that everybody looks at, that would be in resin. All the air cleaners, exhaust stacks, grill, all that stuff would be resin. And then even like rims of tires possibly and different things like that would all be resin. And then for the trailer, maybe the tarp crank and things like that would be resin that I could glue on afterwards. So yeah, that's kind of my plans with that, and kind of what I've been up to and kind of where I'm going with that.
Nice.
So yeah, kind of what's some of your plans for, I guess, both the hobby and the full life things when it comes to equipment and models?
Model wise, well, that one's kind of more of an impulse kind of deal. So far, I've spoken before on kind of got a 70s, 80s setup, and I think I have all the trucks and vehicles I want. Might get a tractor too, but it's all there. I just need to build the diorama portion of it now. So that'll be the next learning process.
How big are you thinking to go with that diorama?
I haven't fully decided. I think I was going to kind of aim for like a 4 foot long, and then because the sheets come in by like 4x2 or something, I think, foot. But anyway,
for the
sheets of styrofoam.
Yeah, you can get them in different things. Like you can get a big one like 4x8, or you can buy them like 4x2. But yeah, everything's basically 4 feet long.
Yeah, so it'd probably be, maybe it'd be more like it'll be a fairly large, maybe a 4x2 or 4x4, something like that. Yeah. Kind of a interstate twin highway
4x3.
Yeah, I could even do that too.
So yeah, you were saying interstate.
Yeah, interstate kind of scene with a little intersection and stuff, and I might do a little bit of field scenery on the side, and then after that, the rest of them are more of a modern fleet, and I really don't have any particular direction with that. Right. Kind of what I was aiming for is more of the vehicles we see here in Alberta, so lots of tandem axle trucks, tridem axle trailers. Like I mentioned in the last episode, that I picked up the truck with the drop axle and quad trailer. That's fairly common to see here in Alberta. Things of that nature. But that's kind of where I'm at on the models, and then beyond that, it's kind of whatever I see that looks cool. Whether
that
eBay
is dangerous.
It is. I stay away from it for a while, and you start poking at it a little bit. Next thing you know, you got stuff coming in the mail, and yeah. But so that's kind of that for the models. I do have a couple models that are similar to equipment that I either have in real life or like or whatever, but I just recently got gifted a International 460 utility model, which is pretty cool because I have one of those. It's on the trailer, so
on the trailer right now.
Yeah, right now. So that was really neat. It was a really cool gift I got from my uncle, so I'm looking forward to putting that on display in my living room. So that one was pretty cool. It's incredible how similar the models were. Of course, the real tractors, there's lots of little configuration differences. Like mine, I don't think. Oh, I'm not entirely sure if it originally came with a loader or not, but I actually have the headlights are mounted directly on top of the hood, where this model they're actually mounted to the side. Little things like that, but and actually I think the model has a side exhaust, and mine comes straight out the top. Neat,
interesting.
Just, little details, but that's kind of what I got for a model. And then real life, like I mentioned, I have my little 1958 International 460. Still haven't got it to run quite yet, but that's the next goal. I have a 1979 Freightliner cab over with a 350 Cummins that I'd like to get going again too at some point. It'd be really cool in theory to run it over the road and all that good stuff, but I at least want to get it going and roadworthy, maybe use it on the farm, and want to put it to work a little bit in some way, shape, or form, but maybe get it to a truck show or two and that kind of deal. So those are the two that I actually have my grubby little hands on right now, but of course there's a lot of other dreams and theories I have. I'd love to get a 4450 too, like my dad has. Those things are a lot of fun and absolutely iconic. And I'd love to get myself a T600 as well, especially if I do actually get into the driving scene. I'd love to rebuild one and run on the highway.
It's still a classic truck, but it's a little more aerodynamic.
Yeah, you get the benefit of those modern aerodynamics, if you call 1990 modern, and you still can get a 400 Cummins with all the mechanical reliability that the guy likes. New trucks aren't bad either, but I guess my theory is, and I haven't tested this theory, but either you go and you buy a new truck and standard warranty, or you go buy an old one that you can rebuild end to end, wire, nut, bolt, airline, everything,
and for not much.
And for a lot less, still a good chunk of money for what it is, but be able to get pretty good value out of it. But
and something with common parts. That, if
with
you're
common
stuck
parts
in Wisconsin or Maine or wherever, you call up a shop and they got parts.
Yep.
On the shelf.
And as long as you have the knowledge of where to put them, because that's getting a little hard to find. But beyond that, so that's the theory anyway. But couple of the other ideas I've had too. I've lately been kind of looking at getting a square body Chevy too. I'd love to get one of those.
Ooh.
Again, with the common parts. I want a 350 engine and simple. All the headlights are common, so you can find all that stuff. I'd love to get one of those. The other theory that I've had as well is to get a 1 ton or a 3 ton. An old International, the old grain trucks.
Yep.
Take the cab, put it on the frame of a newer GM product with a Duramax diesel in it. Put a short little 36-inch bunk and then a nice flat deck on the line for pulling trailers or doing sled trips, all sorts of fun stuff like that.
That would be epic.
Yeah, actually, I seen one the other day. I can't remember what cab they used. but it was an old cab. I think it was an old Chevy cab actually dropped on. They didn't have the sleeper, but they had, you know, a nice deck on the back. And
You know what I ran into the other day? Just fueling up down in Claire's home. I pulled up next to us in what looked like a rat rod, which was basically, you know, they don't repaint it shiny. They leave the rust on it, and they leave the dents, and they leave the stories on the truck. He had taken the frame of a first gen Cummins. So this is, you know, early 90s, late 80s Dodge, you know, with a diesel engine in it. And he dropped a early 50s Chevy cab and box on it. And, you know, left it all rusty, but like, you know, you pull up and you hear that Cummins engine and you're just like, oh, that 12 valve sounds good.
Yeah,
and he's
a lot
pulling
of fun
a little horse trailer. And he's got the look of this old truck. Like, it has like the fuel tank on the back is enclosed by a wooden barrel.
Oh, cool.
And there's like a barbed wire decorative thing on the side and like cool license plate, and like it was a cool truck. But yeah, frame swap like that, so you get all that, you know, modern suspension, modern powertrain. You know what you're talking about. You can get a dually.
Yep.
And have an old cab.
Yeah, because I think the old cabs just look cool, and my mechanical ability is not to the point yet where I could do that just from the motor wiring part. Like my old tractor, I'm hoping to rewire that. You can't get much simpler than that. It's got like 5 lights on it, I think. Like that's it. So actually, might not even have that many. So it's a pretty simple beast. So I'm hoping to get a little wiring knowledge from that. But then you start looking at those guys that do, you know, either LS swaps or Duramax swaps, and you look at all the wires that they have to. Like, it's one thing to like replace a wire in a loom or something, but where you have to like rip it out of one truck and move it into the other one and make everything talk to each other like you want it to,
yeah,
and not look like a rat's nest.
Yeah. And it's one thing when it's like, okay, all the other wires are there, and I have this pink wire on this end that's also pink at this end, and I unplug it at this end, plug in a new one, unplug it at this end, plug in a new one, get some zip ties, and we're good. It's very different to, you know, take all the wires out, try and label them, try and hook them up again, try and work between 2 different systems, and try and make it actually function, because electrical issues just take time, and they're just so much work for something so small.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be a bit wild. So I'm not quite there yet, but you know, actually the other thought I have had too, I know where there's a nice old mechanical Cummins that needs a rebuild. So, you know, I might be able to get a good deal on that too, and do that, go that way instead. But
yeah,
either way, it'd be a bit of a job. But we'll see. Those are the theories.
Yeah,
as far as both the models and the real life stuff.
Yeah.
You know, of course, I also got motorbikes and sleds, and I bought a new motorbike this last summer, and I got some stuff I want to do to it, some LED lights and different handlebars and stuff. So
yeah,
lots of projects.
Mm-hmm. Well, with my collection for myself, I don't know, it hasn't really taken a back seat from the making stuff to sell. It's kind of goes hand in hand. Part of it was because of the 3D designing that I like doing, I was able to say, hey, I can make something for myself cheaper than I can buy it. So then why don't I just design it, and then I can have as many as I want. And, you know, then if I'm designing it myself, I can actually sell those. And, you know, one model goes to the next, to the next, to the next. And so, yeah, my own collection has grown some. And right now I'm really kind of focusing on my fleets and my custom harvest crews. So some of you have seen I love custom harvest crews, and I have a great big harvest crew that I measured out is 18 feet long.
Holy.
1/64 scale. Took the whole garage. And that crew is running modern case combines with, special custom trailers, pulling custom grain trailers behind that. And I've got the whole crew with all the semi trucks, all the pickup trucks, and pulling fuel trailers and camper trailers and service truck. And then, a grain trailer so that every truck hauling a combine or a grain cart and tractor gets to have a grain trailer to pull after they unload. And that way, every truck is being used. And this whole custom combine thing, custom harvest thing, it still goes on today. It originated a long time ago. It's basically a crew that will start down in Texas when the grain gets ripe first, because it's hotter down there and they are able to plant earlier. So this crew of young men go in with their combines and their tractors with grain carts and their semi trucks, and they pull in as a big crew, and farmers pay them to harvest their fields and haul it into the farmer's bin or sell it. And so they start down in Texas, and as the wheat ripens and gets harvested, they keep moving their way up, all the way up into Canada. And I've always been fascinated by them. I'm not sure if I'd ever want to work on them, because it's long days. It is crazy long hours, and you're doing it for months. But I love modeling them, and I love all these little pieces that work together of, if you have this many combines, you need this many grain carts, and I need this many semi-trucks. And I'm trying to get all the same model of combine and all of this stuff, and I like crews and fleets and things like that. So it started off with one custom harvest crew with some combines and trucks and trailers. Now I have the Case IH crew. Then I have a John Deere crew with John Deere combines, modern combines getting pulled by red semi-trucks with red pickup trucks. Then I have a modern New Holland crew with New Holland combines and black Challenger 2-track tractors pulling the grain carts. Planning to 3D print some Kenzie carts for that. They're like a nice blue color with some white rims. If you check out the previous podcast, I had one that I built on that.
That's right.
It was an older model. And then I've got some vintage harvest crews. So I have, a 1980s Case International crew with some old combines, old red combines, and all kinds of trucks, cab overs and old Fords and Internationals and old square pickup trucks from the 80s, and, pulling Airstream trailers.
Nice.
So a cool setup with that, and got a few others, some a 1950s Massey Ferguson harvest crew with some old B model Max, and an old Ford cab over, kind of, it's a very round bubble nose kind of thing, and some old Chevy pickups, and then a couple silage crews, so forage harvesting, a modern Kloss chopper crew, and then a 1980s Kloss chopper crew with a custom chopper I made.
Nice.
And some old GMC bed truck with a ramp on it that the chopper can just drive right on top.
Nice.
Some old Kenworth trucks for that crew. So it's quite a few of those harvest crews. Not all of them are complete. Ideally you would want the same make and model of truck for each crew. This crew is white and blue Kenworths, and this crew is all red Peterbilts and stuff like that. I don't have that. I've just kind of taken my collection and here's a bunch of blue trucks, here's a bunch of red trucks. I do have plans to 3D print some more and make that my own because that's quite a bit cheaper for me. But a lot of these crews aren't complete. You know, they don't have all the trailers and all the combines and all that stuff. But 2 of them are complete for now. And that's been pretty fun, as well as an oil field fleet. So that's got, it's black and green, and I have all these heavy haul oil field trucks.
Oh, nice.
And a bunch of twin steer bed trucks. So that's where you have 2 front axles where both of them steer, and it really gives you a lot better grip, and they're a big heavy truck for moving big buildings and winching them out of the mud. And so I have quite a setup of trailers and trucks for that. I want to 3D print and design a lot more and scratch build a lot more stuff for it, but that fleet's looking pretty sweet. And yeah, just you know, collecting and building custom farm equipment and trucks and
Nice.
and all kinds of things, but kind of focusing on the fleets right now. Just kind of tackling one area at a time, and this way I can kind of show off my collection in a fleet that looks a little more practical rather than just a whole line of trucks.
Right, yeah, just kind of random. Yeah.
So yeah, that's kind of what I've been up to with my collection, and you know, still collecting, but not just collecting. Now that I'm selling some stuff and making all these custom things and designing things, it's become much more than just buying models for myself. And it's also been able to generate some money too, which has, yeah, it's, some of it has funded buying models for myself, but some of it has also just funded buying tools to be able to make more stuff to sell to people. So yeah, it's kind of been quite the thing, and kind of balancing between spending my time building prototypes and designing things, and trying to, you know, do customer orders. Like even tomorrow morning, I gotta make a special decal for a guy and get that in the mail right away. He's building a Titan tractor.
Oh.
So he's taken I believe it's a Steiger Cougar, and painted it like construction yellow.
Oh, interesting.
And so I made he is able to reuse the grill sticker, but I'm making him a decal for the Titan logo on the front. Yes, that should turn out good. That's a customer order coming up, and nice. Hopefully get a few more, you know, from the truck show and from the toy show that I had before, and my name's definitely getting out there a whole lot more, and different people are recommending me and such, and I'm getting more customer orders, and I'm sure things will speed up around Christmas too.
Absolutely.
But it's, you know, been trying to find the balance of, okay, develop all these new products that I can make for people, showing what I can do, doing customer orders, and then still having some time to make some stuff for me.
Absolutely.
And, you know, with the YouTube channel and the podcast, you know, it's also putting stuff into that and editing and coming up with good content and good things for people to see.
Yeah, absolutely.
One idea I want to do sometime soon is basically a video of, can I make a car hauler in 1/64 scale for under $20? And my plan with that, you know, a little sneak peek to you guys, is basically you can do a car hauler for around that like 5 different ways. So you can build one completely from scratch and go, you know, pick up a semi truck, and build one completely from scratch out of plastic and wood. you know, another method, that's kind of the least or the cheapest method. The most expensive would be the most time consuming, which is basically taking plastic polystyrene, which is a plastic that is already formed into sheets and rods and square stock and different shapes and I-beams and everything. So you can just cut it and glue it together and build something. And quite a bit of this trailer here is actually built out of that. Some is out of wood, some's out of that plastic. But yeah, like there's I-beams in there and everything. But if you build it that way, you can get incredible detail. But that's the most work. And then you can also, buy the old Ertl style of lowboy trailer and basically build walls and a top rack. And then you get that truck with it. And you've saved enough money, you might be able to fill it full of cars. Buy a bunch of Hot Wheels. And then there's the 3D printing method, which I've also done of if you have one, or even if you know someone with a printer or pay someone with a printer, if you go on and design it yourself, it's not that hard to learn. I taught myself, but I also have a video kind of that'll go up in a little bit, showing people how I design farm toys on Tinkercad, which is a online program that's free. And if you go on and do some basic designs, then you can send that to someone with a 3D printer and they'll print it for you if you don't want to buy your own. But even with buying your own, you can get one for $350, $400, depending if it's on sale. So that's also a great method too. So it's kind of, it kind of plays off of, even the social media challenge of, make me a gourmet dinner for $10 or something like that, or things like that. But it's kind of like can I make a car hauler for under $20? And it's like, well, yeah, but which method do you want to go with? Because I've done each of these. I started off with one that I made out of wood and took the wheels from some Hot Wheels cars, slapped it on the bottom, painted the whole thing black with a paintbrush. And it turned out pretty good. And I've got, other things that I've made out of the plastic styrene, but I also have a car hauler that someone else made out of plastic styrene. And I have the 3D printed one that I've built, and I've, also modified quite a bit of things. So it all depends what you want to do with this hobby. You can go out and buy something, but if you want something unique, you can also make it. Or if you want to save money, you can also make it. Especially when you make something that nobody else has. That's definitely special.
Yeah, I'm very much the purchaser. I'm not quite into
for now.
For now.
You're definitely more of a buyer than a customizer.
Yeah, so I'm definitely I'm big into the DCP. I like the little small details that they have in their models, but with digging into this diorama and stuff and learning how to sculpt and things like that, it might translate over into some custom stuff too. We'll see.
Right, or start off with at least a little bit of switch out the exhaust stacks and things.
Yeah.
I did have a great idea. So do you remember before when you brought that new Kenworth that you had bought with the kettle liner? And you said, oh, it's a pretty cool day cab, but it'd be sweet if it was a flat top. And it's impossible for us to color match and build a sleeper for that. You can buy a 1/64 scale Mercury sleeper.
Oh, that's a good idea.
So this was a thing back in the day, 70s or something?
Yeah, I think, I'm not going to say before, because they had sleepers at that point manufacture-wise, but you could also buy sleepers from. There's a whole bunch
from
of
some third party.
Yeah, it's like sleeper manufacturers. So they make them out of aluminum, and they looked a lot cooler.
So this is a shiny aluminum with like cool pattern on the side, and it doesn't match the truck, of course. But it looks so cool. It's like shiny. It matches the chrome.
Yeah.
So with barely any work, you could take that Kenworth. You talked about putting smaller stacks on it. Put smaller stacks on it. You just move your air lines farther back. I don't remember if it has a pogo stick or if it's just coming out of the frame.
I can't recall.
Either way, you can move those air lines farther back and just mount a Mercury sleeper on that.
That's a good idea.
I know where you can get them too, and you can get the stacks and the sleeper the same place, and like,
I think
easy.
Or was that the 359 I brought before?
Maybe it was a 350. It was a 359.
Yeah,
it wasn't a Kenworth.
Yeah,
it was a 359 with the Cataliner.
Yeah, because it had the big pipes that wasn't super keen on. We'll have to look into that.
Like, I don't think in 1970 they put pipes the size of their wood burning stove.
Yeah, like those look like solid 8-inch pipes. Yeah, absolute beast.
But that was a little thought I had.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
That solves the sleeper problem.
Yeah, that's a good theory.
But yeah, like what you said, like, we'll see where it goes with this diorama and your fleet, and a few small things here and there, but you definitely like the details and like the uniqueness of stuff.
And like the diorama is going to be kind of fun too, because there's so many resources in the model railroading world, and like products you can get
with
stuff
all
that
that
super
detail.
easy.
It's super great, and it's lots of fun making dioramas. I was thinking the other day I need to make some more because I need to make some good pictures, and I don't have a blacktop paved road diorama. I have several mini dioramas of gravel roads, but I have no highways. So it's like, I'm building this highway truck. Maybe it should be on a highway. It's on back 2-trail gravel road with green grass in the middle. But
well, that was a good little chat.
Thank you for sticking around with us. And we'll catch you next time on the podcast.
Absolutely. Thanks for stopping by. Take care.
Take care, guys.